Hello, it is Saturday, which means it's another brand new Doctor Who review, where today I'm going to be reviewing 73 Yards, an episode that Russell T Davies has gone on record to say is his best work yet. And in this review, I'm going to say whether or not that is the case or not. So I'm going to say what I thought of the episode till the very end. So let's get into it. So the Doctor and Ruby land in Wales, and they are talking about how Ruby has been to Wales a few different times in the past, and the Doctor accidentally steps on something, which we later learn to be a fairy circle. And in it, there's these scrolls that Ruby reads out loud: "Rest in peace" and "Miss you, Mad Jack." And as she's reading that, the camera pans to her, so that way the Doctor isn't as visible. So when it pans back to where the Doctor is, he's not there, which weirds Ruby out. So to the point where she thinks that he's gone back into the TARDIS, so she goes to see to go back in. She can't. She tries to open the door. She can't. And so she starts to notice that there's this old woman in the distance, and she's trying to talk to her, not getting much out of her. So she decides to start to walk back, to walk to this village. And on the way, she encounters this woman who's out on a hike, and Ruby asks this woman to go talk to this woman to see why she's following her and if she knows about what happened to the Doctor. And so this person goes up and immediately screams then and runs away. Um, so something's definitely not right here. So eventually she makes it into the village. Into this village, she goes into this pub, this old pub, and she rents a room for £65 a night, which is kind of cheap if you ask me. I've known places to charge double that for a single night, so £65 seems to be a decent enough price out in an old Welsh village. And so this guy, when he goes to leave, who's a pub patron, does the exact same thing as the woman who was who was hiking, and he runs and leaves. And so it's starting to fast forward through a few days, and the pub owner is basically like, "Look, this Josh, I believe his name was, um, it refuses to come back to the pub. He keeps saying, 'Ask her, ask her.' So I'm asking you, Ruby, why that is." And Ruby's like, "I don't think he means me. I think he means the woman that's out there." And so then she immediately goes back home once she's no longer welcome in that pub. And so we get to see Ruby's mother and grandmother again, which was a surprise. I didn't think we would get to see this much of them. Initially I thought it might just be for the series finale two-parter. But no, we got to see them in Space Babies, and we get to see them now, which is nice because I do like them. And so then Ruby's mother does the exact same thing. After Ruby explains it all to her, goes up to try and talk to this old woman, and immediately runs away and gets a taxi. And then so again, we fast forward through another little bit where Ruby's constantly trying to talk to the mother to see what was said. And when she's come back, Ruby's mother has changed the locks, essentially kicking her out. And now we're starting to fast forward through a few years, about when Ruby's 25, and then we get to meet a familiar face, which again was a huge surprise for me, and that is Kate Lethbridge Stewart. Yes, Unit is in this episode, which I was very surprised about because I do love Kate Lethbridge Stewart when she actually has things to do, because she didn't necessarily have things to do in Flux, um, which was a huge waste for her character. But that's besides the point. So again, Ruby's talking about how it's this old woman is always 73 yards away from Ruby at all times. And so Unit is like, "Well, you should have contacted us sooner, because we tend to keep tabs on former companions of the Doctor." Um, and so they're talking, and then they try to get this old woman in for questioning. That doesn't work. The unit soldiers end up doing the exact same thing. The same with Kate Lethbridge Stewart. She's looking at them doing it, and she because she's listening in on an earpiece, it affects her too, and she just gets up and leaves. And so now going again 30 years when Ruby's 30 years old. She's had a few failed relationships because she's not really in the present at that time, because she's always like keep focusing on this old woman who is 73 yards away. And that's when she catches this broadcast of this person who is then given the nickname of Mad Jack, which is someone that the doctor mentioned in the beginning of this episode, which was a Chekhov's gun essentially. And it's about this person who becomes prime minister and how they were very, very close to a nuclear war because this guy really wants it. You know, they mention Russian war that nothing was done, and so when he's elected prime minister, he has bought some nuclear weapons from Pakistan, and he's going to get the codes on Saturday when the power gets transferred over to him, and he's going to say that Great Britain is going to leave NATO essentially, and that's when Ruby, once she sees that broadcast, she's like, "Oh, okay, I now know what I need to do, and that's to prevent that from happening." So she goes in and joins with the political party for that, and as just like a volunteer type of situation. And it's not until she's told about the getting the nukes from Pakistan that Ruby's like, "Oh, okay, now I have an idea." Where she walks onto the pitch, she pulls out her phone with that tells her how many feet away she is from this old woman. So she starts walking back until she's 73 yards away from her, which then causes your man to look at her and immediately start to run away and resign. And that's so she's prevented that. And then we jump forward again to when Ruby's a lot older. Jump about 30 years into the future after this. And so she goes visits the TARDIS because that's still been there on the cliffside in Wales. And then it goes back to, it jumps even for a bit further to the night that Ruby dies. And as she's about to die, the old woman comes in, gets a lot closer, and then that's when it's revealed that Ruby was the old woman in, the entire time, trying to prevent the Doctor from stepping on the fairy circle that causes all this branched timeline, essentially. And this time she manages to do so. And that's when the episode ends. So, was this the best script that Russell has ever written? Yes and no. Yes and no. Because he has written something like this before, because this entire episode reminded me of the Sarah Jane Adventures episode The Curse of Clyde Langer, which Russell half wrote with somebody else for the Sarah Jane Adventures. So that had a lot of not necessarily similarities, but it had influence there. You know, when anyone would go up to this old woman, they would immediately run away and not want to be associated with Ruby, which was something that happened with Clyde Langer in that episode. But another thing that it reminded me of was the Star Trek Deep Space Nine Season 4, Episode 2, The Visitor, when Benjamin Sisko dies and is tethered to his son Jake Sisko, and the only way to break that tether is for Jake to die at the end of the episode. So that's what happened with Ruby. She had to this version of Ruby had to die in order for the timeline to change, essentially for the Doctor not to step on the fairy circle. But I still enjoyed it. I was watching it and I was thinking, it was 47 minutes long, this episode. It didn't feel like that. It felt a lot longer with the amount of stuff that managed to get crammed into it. I thought was fantastic. 2 weeks in a row for really great episodes. And props to Millie Gibson. She was absolutely fantastic in this. We knew that this was going to be a Doctor Light episode, probably because Ncuti was off filming for something else, either Sex Education or maybe Pickup Shots for Barbie. I don't know. That's just that's where my head is at for that. But I really enjoyed this episode. This to me was a fantastic episode that has been done before. And that's kind of the issue that I have with this season. They seem to be, Russell keeps forgetting these things have been done before. He's saying, "Oh, this is the first time X and Y Z has happened in the show." since X and Y. No, it has. There's been other instances when that has happened, but he's just not mentioning that. But yeah, this is a fantastic episode, and it is a very strong episode. But like I said, it's been done before with The Curse of Clyde Langer and the Deep Space Nine episode, The Visitor. But I still enjoyed it, and I would recommend it if you haven't watched it, and even though I just spoiled the whole fucking thing, that you should watch it. So that has been my review for 73 Yards. I will see you next week, next Saturday, for another episode review. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you love Doctor Who and you aren't subscribed, make sure to subscribe because I do post Doctor Who content. Like on the 7th of June, I will be back to reviewing my classic Doctor Who episodes every second week, as well as reviewing these episodes every Saturday. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you tomorrow for my weekly pickups video.